Morning, though very sunny this morning. Well, not the hot sun, but it's a sunny morning, and that is, if you can see I'm in the room, but it's actually, you can see the reflection through the window on my face today, and we give thanks to God. But at the same time, it's also chilly out there in Jos, and I'm grateful to God for His multi-sided, goodness to humanity. And I want to believe that you woke up today strong, and I also believe you woke up today with your mind with you. What do I mean by that? That you are able to coordinate, you're able to put yourself together. That's important to any human being for productive living. We've had so many talks, we have so many videos, we've had so many articles and so many images on the internet lately, or in the last 1 year, because of the things happening around us. A lot of us actually are beginning to think of other things and how we're going to survive the days ahead. I want to thank God for you that are still holding on. There were some that life did not give the opportunity to actually bring to pass their decisions that they have made in their minds. It takes just a thought for you to reap an action, and I pray that God would help us all through this period in Jesus' name. Well, again today, I trust the Lord to help us, because we are all living a borrowed life. The life we live, it's not our own. It is the life of God. God is the owner of every human life that we are all having today. Now, when we claim to be more holier, if there's a word like that, if there's a phrase like that, we claim to be holier than other people, we claim to be better than other people, we claim to be somewhat better somehow than other people, we actually fool ourselves, because there's a common saying that it all ends 6 feet below the ground. And we may be living in castle, in mansion and all of that, but there's an apartment that we all must have and move into, whether we like it or not, at the end of our lives. No matter the comfort, no matter the facilities, no matter the gadgets that we have right now, we definitely, excuse me, we all have to move into that one-room apartment when we all die, when we all close our eyes in death. So I actually sometimes find it difficult to put it together, why we fight over material acquisition, why we fight over things that we're going to leave here. We call it don't step on my my space. Don't come into my space and all of that. We quarrel, we fight, we bicker over little things that we know eventually we're going to leave here. I, for one, I remember there was a time I had to tell my children and some authorities that were involved in my matter. I told them that I don't have anything on the face of the earth, nothing. I don't own anything. As a matter of fact, just that I'm trying to be conservative, I would have actually shown you all that I call my own materially here. Personal effects, they're all in this room. And apart from maybe what do you call it now, the facilities out there, the ministry facilities, the structures that we have out there, I can, many times I do tell myself, travel light, you don't really have anything to worry yourself about. Like some people, their wardrobes, they have clothes that are 6-7 months old there, they have not worn, and they're keeping them there. They have so many things, but they don't have time to use them. Like I read an article yesterday, big men on the face of the earth today, they have swimming pools, but they don't have the time to swim. They have, big, what do you call it, a very wonderful gym, but they hardly go there. Now, some people just put some things in the house for the sake of having it. You find a man building, a house, 10 bedrooms, and he lives only in one. He hardly goes to the other apartment to know what is going on there. So, excuse me, we have quite a lot of problems out there that many persons are, putting themselves into or through. So, I want to believe God with you today. Let me go out there because I need to attend to my, someone came to fix something for me, and I think it's at the gate. Now, but let's keep talking as I go. Now, it's important we all understand what we are called to do. And when we understand it, when we know it, and we walk with it, sorry about that. And sometimes when we come together like that, we begin to wonder why we built so many, houses and rooms. And sometimes we don't even have time to visit certain part of the apartments that we have. So sometimes these are becoming liabilities. And I want to believe God today that as God helps you, you will begin to travel light. I remember I told those people, I said, I don't have anything. Everything that I have today, I already give them, I already have them, they're my children's own. I don't have anything. And that I also learned some years ago when I was talking with our late chaplain leader in Africa, the man that brought chaplaincy to Africa, really, Sir Ige Olumide Olatubosun of the International Institute of Pastoral Education and Chaplaincy in Ota. I was speaking to him. He was also the proprietor and the leader of Faith Bible College. I was talking to him in his office one of the days that I was with him because he would tell me, come over. So when we were talking one of the days in his office, he looked into my eyes and he said, Akin, I don't have anything on the earth. I looked at him and I said, what do you mean? He said, with all that you see here, everything you see here, the school, the College of Chaplains that you see, the properties you see, everything here, I don't have anything. I have a house somewhere in Lagos there. And he said, if I wanted to build a house in one of the choice areas of Lagos, the eyebrows, I would have done that by the status that I have. He also told me that they said, the SAR you see me bear is not just ordinary. It's as a result of my contribution to Christian education that Her Majesty and the United Nations jointly awarded me that SAR. He said, and I'm also given the award of an archbishop. He said, and he showed me the photographs and some of the documentations. He said, look at them there. He just turned to the back of his chair. And then Olumide Igibaba also told me, he said, look, the things that people die over today, I don't have time for them. He had 58 different degrees, doctorate, masters, and all the degrees that he had, 58 of them. And then he also said to me that, look, man, I begged my children to allow me a room, just a space in the house. Let me just have a room to stay. Just let me be there, renting it to stay with them, just hiring it from them, give me to stay. And that's all. He said, that was all I do, and that's all I have. And most of the time, truly for those people that actually were close to him, that he spent most of his life, most of his time, in the camp, in the campus there. Most of the time, in fact, towards the end of his life, he actually stayed more on campus. Towards the end of his life, this was a man that would be there 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Many times he would call me, most of the time 1 a.m., 12 midnight. He would call me, Akin, get up, let's talk. And I didn't know why he was doing all of that to me. And then even up to the point when they now explained to me certain encounters he had with certain people. I want to let you know today that it's a simple world and it's a simple life. Now, if you decide to make it difficult for yourself by the reason of the things you desire, the things you want to have, it will be hard. Do you understand, people? So, as people who are facing the present COVID-19 challenges, we don't need to add more to the problems we are having. And that's where I also want you to know that I've always said it, that the governments of the world, they don't really have any plans for anybody on the face of the earth, because if they really do, they will not be adding salt to injuries in many cases. For example, the issues of taxation, the issues of revenue drives and all of that they are doing now, and the ways to, they call the selective loans that, people get here and there from, different agencies, including government agencies, tells us that certain agenda here and there may be pushed by certain, quarters. But you see, the Bible is clear about this life and all of its wealth. God said that in the end times, some of these things that we are seeing now, in the end times, there will be difficulties, there will be hardship, there will be pains, and it's not going to leave anybody, out. So I want to encourage you that whatever you are going through, the rich is also crying right now, and the reason why they are crying is no other reason but because the poor that they used to fleece on are not having what they used to have. And so you must at this point follow the principles of the Bible, which is, it says, give and it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over. I saw it on Facebook this morning, a man that kept money out of the loot of the arms deal of 2014 or thereabout, that the money actually got spoiled. I saw something like that on Facebook today. What a crazy world. Someone, keeping money in this house and all of that, and the country is so impoverished. It tells you a lot. Now, what is the next level? Where are we going? Because when people talk about next level, talk about change and all of that, I don't believe in the talk. I want to see the reality. Now, according to the scriptures, according to the word of the Lord, as believers, we must begin to look at the future from the scriptural perspective. What is the Bible saying about the future? And how does the Bible expect us to relate to the situation that we're going through now? Number one, it's clear that troubled time will come. In Egypt in those days, take for example, when famine hit the land, according to the word of the Lord, it was the man Joseph that God used to explain the coming of the famine to the people. And then God gave him also a plan. Whenever a hardship is coming to the town or to hit any land, God would always raise voice or voices to warn the people and to prepare the people. Now, in Babylon, when trouble was to also come, God also used the man Daniel to interpret the dreams and all of that. Now, we have to know that God is interested in his people, and he would not do anything. The Bible says God doeth nothing except he reveals it to his servants, the prophets. Now, there was a case in Israel when the son of the woman died, and God did not tell Elisha. Now, when the woman came to him on a horse and he asked her, "Is it well with you?" the woman answered, "It is well." He was saying, "Is it well with your husband?" "It is well." Then, "Is it well with your son?" She said, "It is well." Now, why did she answer all of that? Meanwhile, she had a good reason. In the first place, she said, "Man of God, I did not ask you for a child. You were the one that gave me this child. You said, the Lord your God will give me the child. And I believed you and got pregnant and had this baby. Now, if it was God that gave me, you did not add to the clause that your God, the Lord your God, was going to kill this child at this particular age. Therefore, I've come to tell you that I didn't ask for the child in the first place. You gave me the child. So come and raise him up." That's the idea. In other words, when you have a problem, who do you run to? You run to the source of that blessing. If the blessing of God came to you, I read in my Bible that the blessing of the Lord maketh rich and does not add any sorrow to it. What is the emphasis of the world today? What is the focus? What's the area that everything is shifting towards right now? Technology, of course, is where everything is shifting towards. And whether we want it or not, whether we are aware of it or not, whether we like it or not, we must, first of all, learn to know the tide, understand where things are moving. So, child of God, you see, the Bible has been clearly making it obvious to us that things will change. Things will change. And when things do change, we must not stay stagnant. We must not remain where we were. We must also make adjusts. We must make that, amendments where we need to, so that we will be relevant in the scheme of things before Jesus comes. Now, Jesus obviously is coming back. He's coming soon, okay? But before he comes, one of the beautiful things about that is that we are not unaware of the schemes, the strategies of the enemy. You and I know that Satan will do anything to frustrate whoever wants to do the right things in this life. And so that's why he will create tension in every place, on every side. I want you to know today that we are living in the last of the last days. And that's why those who have gone before now, they've escaped the corruption and the problems of this present earth. What about those of us who are here now? Finances are not as plenty as it used to be. Not that the money traveled out of, for example, Nigeria. People say, oh, hardship, financial problems, and, crunch. But I also noticed that the money in Nigeria did not travel out of Nigeria. The wealth is still here. It's just that it's not circulating. So when people say there is hardship, what actually is happening is there is this strangulation, there is this stifling, there is this, holding back of finance and limited circulation of the finance. Now, when you find a government that tries to empower a certain block of people, okay, to the detriment of others, is a big mistake, because financial prosperity of the entire nation, okay, of the various ethnic groups in the country, various religious, affiliations in the country, is the robust prosperity for the country. Now, it therefore boils down to the kind of leadership, the brain that the leadership has. Because if you do sectional financial empowerment, definitely you're going to run into problem in the days to come. That's where anarchy will set in. That's where problem will come, and then it will be difficult for them to handle it. We must be very, very careful as people in leadership at this time, especially in government, because if we don't look at the people, generality of the people, and then generally empower the people to be financially stable, we will still be the one to carry the burden. Now, it is important that we look at the future. Where is the shifting of the prosperity of the world going? Like I said, education, for example, is an important aspect. Health is an important aspect. Do you understand? Commerce is important. And politics will become, the driving force, the driving room, or the driving engine for all of these things to be harmonized. Is going to become that's the democratic people now. The political, will be the driving engine, the driving room for all of these things to work. And they would also be the one that would dictate the tune, because the pipers right now, the piper would dictate the tune. So we must begin to look at what other opportunities, what other avenues are available. Now, I listened to a young man that was saying, if you want to help your children and you really love them, don't just look for a job. Don't just seek for a job. Look for a business to do, entrepreneurship and all of that. Let your children have something to inherit. He was particularly saying that if you got a job, your children, and then something happens, maybe you didn't do well in the company, or the company doesn't like your face anymore, they can throw you out at any time, and that's it. It's happening now. Look at those people in the white-collar jobs. When they lose their job and they don't know any other thing, they don't know how to do any other thing, they sack them, or they get them out of the job. They remove them from that place, from those offices. Now, what happens to their family? You can see it almost immediately. Their families begin to suffer. No matter what they have saved, after a period of time, they begin to go down. And that is where we're having issues today. Now, when they go for these white-collar jobs and all of that, They are sacked out of the places. Their children are still in school. They have not yet, built a house. Things are not really as, it used to be, because the various things they used to have, the benefits will be withdrawn from them. Think, for example, those who are living in the quarters, the government quarters, the private company quarters. They have to leave. And when they leave, they now have to go down to learn how to live in, areas where they were not used to, the comfort zone they had. So if they didn't have a house of their own before they get out of the job, what happens to them? So it's not a matter of speaking in tongues now. It calls for careful planning and prayers. Now, if they were working somewhere, apart from taking them out of the job, if they had official cars and they've not bought their own, or they had a kind of car that is not really, what or befitting, what happens? They will be forced to go down and go back to that kind of a life. So it's important that whatever you're doing for anybody right now, whether you're working for government or you're working for any private enterprise or whatever, or sector, it's important you have personal plans, not just to remain with the status quo of going to the office every morning and then, they give you the salary every month. Now, that's, no matter how you save, you cannot meet all of your need. So that's why business by the side that you do, your children will learn of that, and then they can also take leverage on that. And even if you die, when you are gone, they have something to to work with. Now look at people that maybe they die, and the company, the government, the highest they do, they buy the casket, they give the family some cash. Maybe if they are magnanimous enough, they give the children some scholarship to a certain level. And what happens after that? That's the problem. What happens after that? So any man who is not thinking about that right now, I think you're just not doing yourself any good at all. So, and the situation we find ourselves now does not call for anyone to begin to fool himself around with, trying to get salary jobs and all of that, which is good for the time, the planning. But how long do you intend to get that done? So if you're not having anything to invest in, you don't have anything to invest your money in now, business-wise, while you are doing that, definitely everybody should settle for private business ownership. Everybody should settle for that, because on the long run, you're going to leave the government, assignment. You're going to leave that man you're working for, and you're going to be on your own. Now, so if it means that you're going to think about, a percentage settlement strategy, whatever you are working right now, yes. And if you are working, people are working for you, give them the room also to make arrangements and plans for, retirement times when they will be on their own. In fact, work towards them being independent of you. When they have worked for a period of time, they've helped your business to grow to a point. You call them, ask them questions. What are you having as plans? What do you want to do? And that will help every one of us to survive the hard times. Now, as believers, we are not exempted. There's no believers, auto market. There's no believers, shoe market and all of that. There's no believers building material market. All of us have to compete in the market, in the economy. And I want you to know that the world system is a very, very dangerous one. And if you're going to do it with the world system and method, they're going to beat you to the game. So this is where I want to round up now. You must learn to walk in the spirit. Now, the reason why you must not put your investments here totally and all your life here as a child of God is that it's a place where everything is going to come to a halt very soon. And the Bible talks about it. Every one of us here, everything we have here is going to be washed away. It's going to burn with fire. But you see, because this world is not our own. Jesus says this world is not our own. We are not of the world. So, child of God, hear this. Your investments here should be basically things that will just, as it were, keep you going, give you some comfort and your family. And then you'll be able to also help your health to live a healthy life. As much as you can, give yourself to the investment you want to do, help your children, but at the same time, remember that we have a home, we have a place we are going to. So investment of a believer is two ways. You invest here, but you must invest largely more in heaven, because you will stay more in heaven than you will ever stay on the face of the earth. You didn't hear that? You will stay more in heaven than you will ever stay here. So it's as you lay your bed, you're going to lie on it. And that is our hope. Our hope is heaven. So if you don't put any investment there right now, listen to me, when you get there, you might find yourself empty-handed. I like this song that is saying, I would not want to meet God empty-handed. And God has told us how to invest in heaven. Make sure you read your scriptures. Matthew chapter 6 is there. Luke chapter 6 is also there. Read the Bible and find out how you can make heavenly investments, real for you from here. You can send money back home from here. And you see, let's learn from the shrewdness of the Chinese people that will give, they will sign contract with you, and then they will put certain clauses. How can you allow them to sign contract with you in their own language? If you are doing business with anybody, who is not of your language, we should have a common language that we're all going to be able to, both of us will understand. It's only in my country's situation that I couldn't believe that we have people who are supposed to have brains, and then you are signing agreements without reading the clause in another language that you don't understand. Now, the certain clauses that they put there includes that in the case you cannot pay the money, they have right to lay their hands on any national infrastructure. That's stupid to me. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you sign such an agreement? Because you want to have certain things done. You want to have roads, you want to have hospitals, you want to have airports built. Now, things that you are doing now, at the end of the day, the children tomorrow will not be able to, they will be enslaved. They will be slaves in their own country. By then you would have died and rotten and gone, eaten up by worms. The highest time, the number of times anybody can stay in government in power in our own Nigerian democracy system is 8 years. So why would anybody mortgage the next 25, 30 years on the altar of selfishness and greed and ignorance or what I'll call it? So these are things that we must begin to tell our children that these are not the way things should be. Right now, the way things are, this is not the way it should be. This was not the way it used to be. I remember the days of UTC, Leventis, Kingsway, Chelarams, commercial give and take. All of these people were in this our country before, and life was actually better than this. And things were better than this. We've never had it this bad in terms of, insecurity, in terms of, financial strain, in terms of food shortage and all of that. When I read it and I found out, to the point that grains were being exchanged, it's sad. So we can't build our future on this. We must begin to tell our children the truth about real investment. The investment here and the investment above. Be very careful the way you are going. If it's all about you wake up in the morning, you run to work in the bank, you run to work in the industry, maybe factory or any of these companies, or you work in government, that's not the end of it. Now you can even see what they are doing now. They get to a point where they owe salaries. They owe salaries, months, and they don't pay you. Now, so what do you do? But you see, God has given you power. He has given you brain to develop personal business that you can. Start with something, no matter how small. Job chapter 8 verse 7 says, though your beginning be little, your end will greatly increase. Don't allow them to box you in a corner. Do you understand? They owe salaries. Some governments, state government and all of that, they will owe as much as 1 year plus. Some even almost 2 years. And now look, what about those of them who even now, they are cutting the salaries of people, both in private and public sectors. They cut the salaries and they tell you that is what we can pay. If you cannot take it, go home. They are getting us to a point where you will not be able to say anything. You won't be able to talk. You will not be able to fight back. You know why? Because you have no choice. You won't be able to fight back when you have no choice. Remember that, those of you who are gunning out there for, paid jobs. But when you get to earning jobs, it's different from paying jobs. Earning jobs. Tell the Lord to help you, to give you the witty invention and understanding of how you work out these things. Now, the educational sector, the health sector, the agriculture. In fact, two that I listened to a man analyzing. Education and the agri sector will take a lot of, get a lot of attention, and it's going to be done with science and technology. Then the power sector also, alternative power source will be needed. Think about what you can do, how you can involve yourself and integrate it into your own system. Do you understand? I've been using one particular locally fabricated inverter now for almost 8 or 9 years, if not, about 9 years, done here in Jos by a young, Hausa guy. Is he an Hausa guy? No, he's from Nasarawa State. Now, he did it, and It just got some things together. It was a UPS container that he got, a big UPS, and he just tampered with certain things there. And I have been using that thing. He did it for me. That's 1.5 kVA. I use it in my office since the last 9 years, and it has not given me a problem that is not manageable. Now, that is to tell you the ingenuity of our people. We have it here. You to think, teach your children, tell your children to learn some things, learn businesses, learn services that people need. And once that is available to them, whether they are graduates, first class, or, now okay, look at it now. First class, second class, upper lower, and all of that, where are we? Everybody has been leveled by this particular situation. Whether you are whatever you are now, everybody is leveled. Everybody is on a pedestal. So I want you to let your children also know that it's not all about school. It's not all about academics. It's not all about white-collar job. It's all about what they can do. And so start involving them. Start bringing their mind to what you do and look around what others can do for them. I mean, they can also learn from others. Because a time will come, people that are giving you money now, they will also have issues. And they may not have the time to do what? To call you, to answer as before. I always say this to pastors, the offerings and the tithes that they are giving to you and all of that, it's important to invest them properly in the ministry. And what is the ministry? Ministry is lives. Ministry is influence. Invest the finances you are getting into influence. Use your finances for influence, to influence, because it is that influence that you will leverage on tomorrow. The children that were raised, some of the children that were raised in our ministry, for example, one of them fenced one of the lands we had and barbed wired it and put the gate one. So there are things you need to do now. Invest into people. Pastor, our life is all around talking and praying. So you invest into people's lives so that tomorrow they will also be able to assist the work. It's only, of course, you can't get everybody. Jesus healed 9 and 10 and 1 came back. There are some people that no matter what you do for them, they will never look back. But God will always give you 1 that will equal 10. So let's stop all these vain expectations, expecting people to do the magical things for us. And if they don't give us, we get angry. Some people, if they don't have money with them, they are not balanced, they are not coordinated. Start now. What is in your hand? What can you do? God asked Moses, what's in your hand? Taking over the entire Egypt and delivering God's people is not going to be a main task. What did he do? He said, I have a rod. He said, even as small as that rod is, I will use it. Now, God will use what you know, what you have with you. What do you have? God has not given you a spirit of fear, okay, but of power and of love and a sound mind. You got a sound mind. As a pastor, I know I have to do several things in the past to get myself to this point. The things I'm doing today, I didn't go to school to learn them. Do you understand? But today, I know how to do. If today I don't do pastor's job, I told people, if I don't do pastor's job, I will not be hungry. I know certain things I can do. And number 2, I am not ashamed to what? To serve. I will eat from service. I will eat from serving. If you are the type that is ashamed of serving, you cannot render service. And if you cannot render service, you will go hungry because of your pride. Now, who is talking about buying clothes? It's all more about food. If there's no food, there's going to be a problem. One of my friends told me last week that he was passing by one of our neighborhoods here, and he saw a young man stood at one of the edges of the street, and he just looked at him and said, I am hungry. I am hungry. Look, you can imagine that. It has gone to that point where the people can stand on the street now and say they are hungry. They don't want to steal. Some even come to you and say, do you have a work for me to do? I am hungry. I want to work so you can give me money. So your case will not get to that point in Jesus' name. I pray for you today that in case you have something that you can use, you can convert, you can transform into something else, start building on it. I like, some of the things I see. Sometimes I see my sons, they do. When I hear my senior son tell me of the things he wants to do, I tell them, go ahead and do it. And I make fun with them. I say, look, I'm going to use my own connections and friends. They will get involved with what you're doing. Now, this is the same thing that you must begin to do now. Because if you don't put your children in the proper footing and you're waiting for them, okay, when they get to become the governor of Nigeria, that is not it. When they get to become independent and they know what to do, you will not suffer at the end. May God keep you parents. May God strengthen you ministers. May God keep your faith strong in the name of Jesus. Please, it's not time to castigate, criticize, get angry, and be offended. No, it's time to think of what can I do? If nobody is there, what will I be able to do for myself? I have told you what I've done in some cases. I've converted some of our facilities into other things for other usages. Now, people can say what they want to say. I know what I can do and what I am capable of doing and what is comfortable for me. So you don't let people help you to live your life and tell you this is who you are. Some people will tell you your caliber. No, you know your caliber, you know your stuff, you know your worth. Begin to think about what you can actually change. And if you don't have anything before now, then look into your brain. What is there that you can think of doing, especially in the world of service? Don't be left behind. Even in church will change. Everything will change. It will change. It will not be like before. The congregational come together, the numerical, pride and all those things. The pride of all churches and nations have been brought down now. So let's be very careful and let's start thinking of relevance. What will it cost me? How will I remain relevant is the issue right now. Because when the cloud of glory moves, the mist of shame suffers. You are still holding on to that thing. This is who I am. A time comes, you have to drop who you are and be what God wants you to, what God has provided part-time. Take what is available part-time. Stop thinking, this is me, I'm a first-class degree holder. No, you may not get the job of a first class. Do what is available to keep going until you get there. Deal with pride. Deal with fear. Deal with anxiety. Deal with all of these things that the enemy is putting in your mind. Because while you are there, someone that did not look at that, he entered into a particular business and is doing it. As long as you're not ashamed, you will not be hungry. You didn't get me? As long as you are not ashamed, you don't have that shame. Okay? You don't have that pride. You are not ashamed and you are not proud. You will not go hungry because you will be able to render any service. You'll be available and you'll be relevant. May God keep you and strengthen you. Don't give up at this point. Your children are there, your wife is there, and your wives are there, and your husbands are there. Put your efforts together, and God keep you in Jesus' name. Till I come your way again next time, be strong, and God keep you in Jesus' mighty name. The number again you can call is 0803 589 2801. Shalom.